So, artificial intelligence is pretty much everywhere, right? It's supercharging businesses in ways we could barely imagine a few years ago. But here's the catch. For every amazing new capability, a new, almost invisible security threat pops up. So, how in the world do you protect your organization? Well, today, we're going to walk through a roadmap. Think of it as a high-level preview of a full tutorial from Virtualization Options LLC designed to give IT departments the blueprint they need to secure their AI. Okay, before we dive deep, we need to get a quick but really important disclaimer out of the way. This tutorial from Virtualization Options LLC, it offers general guidance for what you might call a typical organization. But let's be real, every organization is unique, and you need training that's tailored to your specific needs. That kind of specialized training is what addresses the actual tools and processes that'll help reduce your risks and hit your productivity goals. So please note that the guidance we're talking about today might not be applicable to your specific situation, and it's offered without any warranty expressed or implied. That's exactly why they develop customized training, by working closely with an organization to figure out its unique needs and priorities. So just think of this explainer as the foundational map, not the specific turn-by-turn directions for your journey. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to explore this new security frontier. Then, we'll get into how you can map out the specific risks your AI is facing. After that, it's all about defense, protecting the core of your AI, building your security operations to man the walls, and finally, looking at the blueprint for implementation and what's next. These are the 5 key stages to building your AI fortress. And really, this all boils down to one single critical question you have to ask yourself. Is your security framework actually ready for AI? Because, and this is the hard truth, the old rulebook, it's officially obsolete. First up, a new security frontier. You know, the biggest mistake you can possibly make is thinking of AI as just another piece of software. It's not. It's a whole new territory with brand new kinds of threats that your current security map doesn't even have a symbol for. Your traditional security, it's great at looking for viruses and stopping unauthorized logins, but it is completely, utterly blind to these new AI-specific attacks. Take something called adversarial inputs. Just imagine changing a few pixels on a digital stop sign. You wouldn't even notice it. But to a self-driving car's AI, it suddenly looks like a speed limit 80 sign. I mean, that's the kind of subtle, reality-bending threat we're up against now. Your firewall has no clue what to do with that. So, the foundation, which is covered in Chapter 1 of the full tutorial, starts right here. It's about taking those core security principles we all know, like confidentiality and integrity, and figuring out how they apply to AI. But it's also about breaking down silos. This is not just an IT problem anymore. Your MLOps team, the data scientists, the compliance team, they all have to be in the same room, speaking the same security language. So now we know the enemy is new and different. How do we even begin to prepare? Well, you wouldn't build a fortress on a swamp, right? You start by surveying the terrain. And in our world, that means mapping your AI risks. Chapter 2 of the tutorial breaks these risks down into 4 main buckets. And the biggest slice of the pie, a whopping 40%, is data-related. Just think about someone secretly feeding your customer service chatbot bad information until it starts insulting your customers. Then you've got model-specific risks, like a competitor literally stealing the brain of your operation. And of course, you still have the classic risks to the infrastructure it all runs on, and the operational risks, like a biased model causing real-world harm. Now, the key takeaway here is that security is a living, breathing process. It's not a one-and-done audit. The tutorial lays out a whole rhythm. Automated scans run daily looking for anything weird. Your team reviews logs and new threat intel weekly. You do a full risk reassessment every month. And quarterly, you zoom out and look at the whole strategy. It's a constant cycle of vigilance. Okay, with the terrain mapped out, it's time to build the walls. Protecting your AI core really comes down to locking down 3 critical things: the data it learns from, the access points people and systems use to talk to it, and the model itself, the brain of the whole operation. As Chapter 3 explains, everything, and I mean everything, starts with the data. If your data is compromised, your AI is compromised. Simple as that. And this goes way beyond just encrypting files. We're talking about advanced techniques like differential privacy, which is a super clever way of adding statistical noise to data so you can analyze trends without ever exposing a single person's private information. Chapter 4 is all about access control, or as I like to think of it, managing the gates to the castle. It's not just about who can log in, it's about what they can do once they're inside. Should a junior data analyst be able to retrain a live production model? No. Should the marketing API have permission to delete training data? Absolutely not. This kind of granular, role-based access is what prevents a catastrophic mistake or a malicious attack. And finally, in Chapter 5, we get to protecting the crown jewels, the model itself. This is your company's secret sauce. It's unique intellectual property. Defending it means stopping rivals from stealing it, preventing attackers from tricking it, and making sure nobody has secretly planted a hidden backdoor inside. This is, without a doubt, the most complex and critical part of the entire fortress. So, you can have the strongest, tallest walls in the world, but they're totally useless without guards. And that's where security operations comes in. This is all about who is manning the walls, how they're watching for threats, and exactly what they do when those alarm bells start ringing. So how do you monitor those walls? Well, Chapter 6 dives into the key indicators you need to track. For instance, something called accuracy drift. If your model's accuracy suddenly drops by just 2%, that might not be a performance issue. It could actually be the first sign of a really sophisticated data poisoning attack. These metrics are your security team's early warning system. And when that alarm does sound, panic is not a strategy. You need a playbook. Chapter 7 provides a clear, step-by-step incident response plan, from immediate containment to isolate the threat, all the way to a post-incident review so you learn from what happened and never make the same mistake twice. It's all about being prepared, not just reactive. Now, your fortress doesn't exist on some private island. It has to follow the law of the land. Chapter 8 covers compliance and governance. That means adhering to major regulations like the EU AI Act, which sets serious rules for transparency, and following technical guidelines from bodies like NIST. This is all about proving your AI is not only powerful, but also fair, transparent, and legally sound. Okay, we've surveyed the land, we've designed the defenses, we've manned the walls. Now for the final, crucial part, implementation. How do you actually build this fortress? And more importantly, how do you make sure it can stand up to the threats of tomorrow? Chapter 9 gives you a really practical implementation plan. Look, don't try to build the entire fortress in a week. You start with a solid foundation, then you build, you optimize, and you scale. The absolute key is to get some early wins by prioritizing the high-impact controls. That demonstrates value to the business and builds the momentum you need for the long haul. And finally, Chapter 10 forces us to look over the horizon. The threats aren't standing still, not by a long shot. Adversarial attacks are getting smarter every day, large language models are introducing all sorts of new vulnerabilities, and the regulatory landscape is constantly shifting. Your fortress can't be a static monument. It has to be a living, evolving defense system. Which leaves us with the most important question of all. AI is evolving at this absolutely dizzying pace. The real challenge isn't just building a fortress for today. It's making sure it can adapt and stand strong against the unknown threats of tomorrow. This roadmap is your starting point for that critical mission.